Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to The Sims 4, and welcome back to a build. We're actually doing a community a lot today. I know, shocker, I never do these. And we're doing a park. And if you heard the concern in my voice, it's because it is a park, but it's actually like a conservatory, kind of, a greenhouse, an arboretum, I believe is another word for them. And I'll be honest with you, the first part, so this is part 1 of 2 because when I put all the footage together, it was like almost an hour, and I was like, oh no. And then my options were put up an hour-long video, which I didn't think anyone was going to watch for speed build, or split it into 2. So, 2-parter. Sorry about that. I know I've been doing that a lot lately, but most of them have been like one rental and then the other rental, so you don't necessarily have to like watch them in order or anything. This one you probably should watch in order. But this is the first part, so congratulations, you found it. What I was going to say too is, to be honest with you, I started building this in like a while ago, like months ago. I don't know exactly when. I could look at the original files. And then I got big build like nerves, and I went, never mind. And then I was actually out talking to Ro and Nelly, and I was like telling them I needed some builds and I needed to figure out Christmas builds, and we were just like talking about it. Which for those of you who recognize that those are horses are probably really confused that we were talking about it. Don't judge me. And they kind of like, talking to them, I was like, okay, I need to sit down and do this build. That's what actually needs to happen. So I wanted a vaguely sort of Art Nouveau, style to this. Obviously that's not like super attainable in The Sims, so I went a little more classical in styling. English is hard. I originally started building this when the greenhouse kit like first came out, when the I can't remember, Greenhouse Haven? That doesn't sound right. The greenhouse kit, you guys all know what I'm talking about. When that first came out, that's what kind of inspired this build. And then it does sort of honestly take on a little bit of a different vibe, but would not have been achievable without those windows. So definitely need that kit. Everything else is probably you can like replace with other things, but you do probably need the greenhouse kit for this. But that should tell you how old this footage is. Is like this was a pretty old build, and then it just languished for a long time, and you've probably seen it in the back of other builds and things because it's just been sitting here taunting me for like a while because it just spooked me. I don't even know, like I got so excited about it. I built this first part like all in a day and then just went, oh no, I have no idea what to do now. And like I totally did, but I didn't. But anyways, talking to the girls, all of a sudden I had this moment of like, wait, I figured out what it could be. So inside is mostly just plants. It's just a park, a place to hang out. There's bathrooms and stuff in the basement down below. There is a little interior garden space and an exterior garden space, so that if your sim is into gardening but you are doing like rag searches and don't have gardening ability at the time, although if you have dirt, you have gardening ability in this game. But you know, if you need to grow something out of season or something and you don't want to do like the roof on sticks thing that we all do, you could come here. So there's like a community gardening space, and there's a community gardening space outside as well. There are a ton of windows, and I will tell you, when you go into build mode, occasionally they will do that thing where like they're like, I'm a window, but I no longer cut through the wall. So you will be clicking through them. But I made it a park by default, so it has park things like a little children's area and stuff. I did set it up though to also be a wedding venue, so you would need to do some things, to be clear. I was gonna set up like a whole reception space, and then I was like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because whoever's getting married here will set up their own reception space how they want it. But there is like a dedicated ceremony space that is set up to sort of give you an idea. And then there is sort of like a cafe kind of area. It has a food stall and some places to sit and just enjoy it. And there's a little kids area that's kind of cordoned off, like a little special play area, which on this particular lot doesn't make a lot of sense because right behind it is a kids area, but for a park it's required. So I was like, okay, I'll put those in. Admittedly, if it wasn't a requirement of the park, I think I maybe could have made it a national park and gotten around that, which actually would have been really interesting, but I didn't, so oops. But there's a little kids area. So, and this kind of like helped me with my big build nerves to a point too, because I love it in here. Sorry, I just looked at the footage again. I was like, because now I really want to do the science center I've been talking about for literally like 2 years that I've been too chicken to do. this helped with that because I was able to tackle this. Now, granted, there's not like a lot going on. It's 98% landscaping, but I really like the way it turned out. It feels very cozy, and it feels like a really good place to come and get your Sims, like good photo shoots, good backgrounds, a really pretty wedding. You could actually get married in here too. There are places like this area that you could get married. This one has stuff in the middle, but you could move it. But I did set the wedding area outside, and it is kind of hedge maze-esque. It would be kind of interesting, I think, because you'd probably end up with people crashing your wedding to a point because it's all outside. I'll be honest with you, my wedding stories worked so roughly. So roughly when I first was able to play with it that I haven't really done a wedding since. I've just had my Sims be like, and you're married now. Congrats. And then, so I'll be honest, I don't entirely know, but I think most of the stuff is set up for a wedding here, to be real with you. Like, there is a place for a reception. If you set like a table out and a dance floor, it wouldn't be that hard in like the little cafe-y area that's kind of also the reception-y area. And if your wedding includes kids, congrats, there's like a kids area, so you're already set up. I've thought about that with my real life wedding. I say as a chronically, terminally single person, the like one thing I've decided about my wedding, I've actually thought about my wedding like enough to have some ideas, but the one thing I've always thought is it would be really cool to have some sort of like event babysitter, so that when the kids like sit really patiently through the ceremony and they sit through the food and then they're just like, this is stupid adult stuff, and they're right. I can be like, look, this lady is a trained professional and you can go hang out with her and play games and do fun stuff, and you don't have to worry, and your parents can enjoy, and they're not worried about you because you're close but not like too close. I think that'd be really cool, and it's especially important in my family because we have 1 billion children. We are adding on average 2 a year. Not me, to be clear. That's not the thing here. I'm not anti-marriage and kids. I'm just sort of like, I'm anti-right now marriage and kids, but I live in a very small rural town, so that's, terrible. that makes life, makes people really uncomfortable, and I'm like, someday, and they're like, no, dude, you need to be thinking about it now, and I'm like, no, someday. I have someday. Which is why we have banished that kind of talk at the family table. I'm like, nope, we don't talk about it. Every time you talk about it, I add 2 years of not having grandkids. Enjoy. My parents actually don't care. It's like my grandma. My grandma cares a lot. And my cousins care, weirdly enough. I think because they all have kids and they want like my hypothetical kids to grow up with their kids, which is sweet, but like it's not gonna change things for me. Anyway, so now we played out most of the gardening area, and I will tell you I do forget to do the front ones until the very end because I totally forgot they exist. I knew I wanted a tree in the middle, that's why I made it double height. Finding a tree that actually fit, like the trees always seem like not that big until you're trying to stick them in a building. So I went with a pink tree at first, and I did like the pink tree, but then I ended up deciding, it was really dark. So I ended up deciding, because like you can't really see the leaves, see? So I ended up deciding, I'm going to say that sentence 4 more times. I ended up deciding to do the lit tree, which is actually, it's in lighting, not in trees, but it has the lanterns hanging from it, and I thought it helped a little bit. But I did go with this tree for a while, and I thought this tree was really nice, and this tree would also work really well. But yeah, I ended up going with the lit tree, which I do size down to make fit. And then I went with a different color at first because I didn't realize it made the leaves like purple, but I wasn't super feeling the like kind of inauthentic purple leaves, so I ended up going back. I thought they were just like a dark evergreen at first, and then I was looking at them and I'm like, I think they have a purple hue. I'm not super into that. And there is one place where this tree clips, and we're all collectively just gonna ignore it. Here I was trying to figure out how to uplight the leaves. It was simply not gonna happen, so I just gave up. The uplighting was just, it wasn't going to be a thing. And here's where I realized this bed was going to be really hard to do because the tree was going to disappear. I do have places where the greenery is popping out from the beds, and that's kind of by design to a point because in real life the greenery wouldn't just chill out because you've put curbing up. In fact, literally today I was having a conversation with a family member because my big beautiful ash tree in the back has completely obliterated my curbing back there. It was like, screw you, I have roots and they're gonna tear up your grass and your curbing, which honestly, to a point, makes me kind of happy because it means this tree is very happy. He's growing roots like crazy, and I love this tree, and I want him to have carte blanche to a point. But also, like, if he could stop tearing up things, it'd be cool. So I'm gonna have someone come out and tell me how to convince him to grow strong, healthy roots, but under the soil like he's supposed to, and not on top of the soil. I want to make sure that's not a sign that he needs something. I don't know why this tree is a he in my head. This tree is a he, apparently. But I had a lot of fun with ground cover and things, and here you can see again, it kind of looks like the ground cover is creeping out a little bit. And I was totally fine with that idea because they're bushes, they're allowed to. And just making things look thick and full, and yes, those are poo-hoo bushes, but like, look, okay, so I never put those in my builds because it's kind of gross. I'm sorry, I know, and it seems weird coming from someone who loves to be outside as much as I do, that I don't love the idea of a poo-hoo bush, but they're pretty, and so I was like, well, this is a good excuse to use them because with the fencing all the way around, no one will use them, so they get to just be pretty bushes, right? This one is the flower one. The other one, I think it's just pink flowers. They're really pretty. And we get to use them, but the Sims don't get to use them, which is pretty exciting. There are actual usable bathrooms on the lot, although it did totally confuse my brain when I actually switched this to a park. At this point, it's still a residential lot. When I did actually switch it to a park, it was like, you don't need any more bathrooms. And I was like, how did I pull that one off? And then it occurred to me it's because I used the poo-hoo bushes. So, but I liked the idea of them being, like a thing that was actually just pretty and like could be enjoyed for just like being pretty, you know? Here I'm trying to make all of the different sized leaves make sense, and I think it does. If you don't stare at it too hard, it does. And I'm putting some stuff up on the walls here to try to get it to match all pretty, growing up the side of the glass and things. I like the way this ended up looking. I really like the fullness, and especially in this area, because this area gets some of the indoor tables and the chess table. You only need one chess table, so I only put one in, but it gives you your Sims a little something to do here that isn't just gardening related. Although, let's be real here, if you're putting this lot down, it's probably because you want gardens. And I was trying to do something different with every bed, and I was trying to do something different with like even different parts of the same bed to some degree. So you'll see a lot of the same ground cover and stuff in the same beds, but I tried to mix it up a little bit, so you'll have to let me know what you think. It uses about 1 billion packs just because I was trying to change out the greenery, but I feel like you could do this just as easily with base game if you were like creative. And honestly, like debug would have been really helpful here because this thing is like $1 billion, but it's a community lot, so it's not your $1 billion, you know? I put my beloved hydrangeas in. I put them in pink. I don't often use pink. My hydrangeas when I lived in Washington State in my backyard were blue, which, if you don't know, hydrangeas change color. They're not a specific color. Their blooms are color dependent on the type of soil you have. So I had light blue blooms, which I believe means acidic soil, which would make sense because I lived under my neighbor's fir trees. And I actually brought that hydrangea bush with me when I moved, but I moved 2,000 feet, over 2,000 feet in elevation. It was not happy. It did not flourish. And ultimately, it died, which makes me really unhappy. I have been told I could grow hydrangeas out here. I haven't looked into it, but I think hydrangeas are one of my favorite plants. I love them so much. I just think they're so gorgeous, and it would be interesting to see what color they would grow out here. So I really should look into that. Here I was trying to put a bench in the middle. That was the original idea, and then I realized I didn't really leave myself enough space to do that nicely. So I ended up putting them off on the side, which I think looks fine, and it gives very like park vibes, which I think is good. I believe I put an easel in here. I might be wrong having said that now, but I thought I put an easel in here. No, maybe I just put 2 chairs. 2 tables and chairs. I thought it would be a really cool place to have an easel, let's say that. I thought I had done that, but now I'm thinking I didn't. It'd be a very cool place to have an easel. You could put an easel in here somewhere. Maybe I'll stick an easel in before I put it up on the gallery. Here's where I realized I needed facilities, right? Like this was a public space, it needed bathrooms. And I sort of realized that if I was going to have weddings here, I needed probably a sink, right? We're gonna ignore the fact that technically under this, under the my brain just died, the flower bed is open because of the stairs. look, that's a limitation of The Sims, and we're going to pretend we didn't see it, right? It does not exist. We do not see it. No one's going to get into that garden bed. No one's going to fall in. No one needs to know. It's fine. It's totally fine. It just happens to be open under that bed. So don't be shocked if you're moving flowers around and all of a sudden find it's open. This took me a really long time to figure out. So there's a staff room that's just made to look kind of like storage. There's an industrial kitchen. And then there's 2 bathrooms. And I do end up moving this around quite a bit. I end up honestly like fussing with it for way longer than it needed to be fussed with. But I wanted it to feel, I wanted the vibe of like, this is definitely a place for people. We're not telling you not to, but this is also like the work zone. Like, so by the time you're coming down here to use the kitchen, to use the bathrooms, whatever, like, it's nice, it's clean, it's orderly, it's meant for people, no big deal. But also, like, recognize that this is not, like, the beautiful antique building. This is the facilities part. So I did, it's pretty and it's colorful, but it's not, like, intense, you know, too much. And the like, storagey staff area is meant to look kind of storagey and staffy. And the kitchen is meant to look kind of industrial. Yes, there's I did put a closet in. Because, you know, sometimes your Sims gotta do things. And if it's a wedding venue, sometimes your Sims gotta deal with that, you know? Sometimes that's important. And I thought it made sense down here to have a cleaning closet. So, there you go. So that's down at the end of the hall as well. Here I'm shrinking the bathrooms because it occurred to me they didn't really need to be that big. They are not gendered bathrooms. They are the exact same. They both have changing tables in them. They will do when the time comes. So it does not matter what type of Sim you have, what race, creed, gender, whatever, everyone's chill in this bathroom. The only thing is, like, there's no bathtub, so your mermaid might have a hard time, but I feel like that's something your mermaid should probably plan for. There's actually really no water on this lot, which is interesting. It'd be cool to put a fountain or something in. That's not something I had considered. Maybe if we ever do a V2 of this or do, like, a different style kind of greenhousey situation. It'd be cool to do a park now with a greenhouse that's much smaller, where the greenhouse isn't like the full thing, it's just like a little side piece, like a teeny one of these. And maybe get some more like ponds and stuff in. I don't think I've done a park with a pond since ponds came out. Maybe I have. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Something to think about. I'll add it to the list of things. So here's the kitchen. I think it has everything you would need to be able to pull off like a wedding here. I haven't played with my wedding stories in a really long time, and quite frankly, since my wedding stories came out, my Sims have just been eloping. So, but I'm pretty sure this kitchen, it has a cooking area, it has a fridge, it has a sink, and a cabinet space. So you should be fine, I think. And this area also just gives you the space if you choose to turn this into a cafe, or you could choose to turn it into a restaurant if you wanted to, like pull some of the flowers out upstairs, put like a dining room in. Oh, you could have a really pretty like Art Nouveau dining experience. That would actually be really pretty. Put like a chandelier in the main part. So you could absolutely renovate this, and that's kind of what I was trying to do, was give you space to turn this into what you needed. It's one of those, again, I've been doing this a little bit lately, where I say it's kind of a set piece. I want you guys to change it into whatever you want, but here's the bones. And I think that's because I've been pulling things off the gallery in my personal play a little bit, and I've been like, this is really cool, I'm gonna change everything about it, but because it's super cool and inspiring, and that's why, you know, like, not a diss on the creator, just this is so cool and now I'm inspired. That's kind of what I was trying to do here, is whatever you want this place to be, it can be. It's set up as a park, but it could be so many other things. I mean, honestly, if you really wanted to, you could probably even turn it into a cemetery, because it's got a ton of outdoor space. You just put graves out there and, like, probably a crypt in one of them, and then urns, I guess, inside? I don't really know, but you could. You could if you wanted to. Yeah, here's the bathrooms with the changing tables and stuff. And I did player test it, and the sink worked, and the changing table seemed to work. So your mileage may vary because it's a pathing thing. So let me know if that doesn't work, and we can change them. Just honestly pull them one wider, and it'll all probably work. And here I was trying to make it look like there was lots of toilet paper. I don't know why I found that so funny, but I did. Like, I was like, they need to have toilet paper on lot. Why that mattered to me, I do not know, but it did. So, you know, this is what happens. A lot of the second half of this build was built entirely on, like, in one go, which I don't usually do either. I usually split it up, and I try to not build for more than an hour, because then I start like wanting to rush it a little bit sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And in this particular case, I was literally like bundled up under the covers, eating some soup, building in the Sims, having a grand time. Having the best time. And the other thing I want to mention here is you will never see me put railing on those stairs, and that is because I forgot until the screenshots. And I think one screenshot might have even snuck into this first part of the build where I didn't get railings on. But just know in the final there are railings. I did actually remember. And here I was trying. I ended up getting rid of this. The idea was neat. I wanted like a cool little area for like all of their little bits and bobs. That wasn't it. That wasn't the vibe. And I'm trying to remember. I don't think I end up coming up with something I like. I think I end up just leaving it or changing things around. Maybe that's what I do. Yeah, here we go. I changed things around and I put this in. I just wanted it to look kind of storagey. So I ended up just putting this big thing in, which has come in clutch in a couple of builds lately, which is kind of fun. And here I'm just messing with like some of the compost looking bins and stuff. So that was the first part. The second part is predominantly working outside, which I think is where a lot of the fun is too, because of the archways and stuff. So definitely check that out. That'll be coming out probably next week. Here's some of the screenshots, part 1. These screenshots will also be available in part 2. I'm excited to show you the rest of it. You're getting kind of a sneak peek at some of the windows and stuff. But I hope you're having a good day and you're feeling loved. And if you're not feeling loved, please know that I love you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here hanging out. You make the world a better place just by being you. And I mean that because I am genuinely so excited to show you my builds when they're done and to have you play in them. You make my days so much more fun. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah. Okay. Love you. Bye. Mwah.